It's T, and welcome to Seen It with my best friend Keith. We official this week because he did the countdown. Last week he was like, "We here, start," and that's how that's how we begin. this week, this week he was like, "I'll grace you guys with a countdown." So we back at it, and we're gonna start with we're gonna review Wonder Woman today, and
Wonder Woman
80
1984.
Wonder Woman 1984. Oh yeah, you're right. Because if we was reviewing Wonder Woman, we would be having a different conversation right now. If we was reviewing Wonder Woman, uh,
I
we
say
would
so.
have we would be having a different conversation right now. Uh,
Mhm.
Keith, do you by chance have the director and stuff pulled up?
I'm pulling it up as we speak,
All
Mr.
right,
T.
all
I
right.
can give you the synopsis via Wikipedia. That's the
Yes,
closest thing I found thus far.
yes.
Wonder Woman 1984,
Mm-hmm.
stylized as WW84, is a 2020 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character Wonder Woman. It is the sequel to 2017's Wonder Woman and the ninth installment in the DC Extended Universe. The film is directed by Patty Jenkins from a script she wrote with Geoff Johns and David Callahan. Based on a story by Johns and Jenkins. Gal Gadot, stars as Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, alongside Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, and Connie Nielsen. Set in 1984 during the Cold War, the film follows Diana and her past love Steve Trevor as they face off against Max Lord and Cheetah.
Right. Woo! All right, guys. So I want to first start off by saying the first Wonder Woman, I loved that movie. It's one of the few DC EU movies, DC Universe movies that I actually like, that I can actually tolerate. Uh, uh,
You're not alone in that. A lot of people
yeah,
raved about the how good the first Wonder Woman was.
yes, and then
Absolutely.
I loved it even more. The fact that the director, I feel like with these movies, you should get somebody that can relate to the character a little bit more. So I love the fact that the director was a woman, just like I love like Black Panther's director was a black guy. I love that you get somebody that can actually like not just have you know not to just have somebody straight white wash everything with a white man directing everything. So I love the fact that we have a woman director, and I love the first one so much that I went into this movie really wanting to like it. And mind you, I hadn't heard anything about it because I watched it on Christmas Day. I waited to watch it with my family, and I'm gonna start by saying I wasn't really feeling it. Uh, and I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me. I was like, man, I'm not feeling this movie. I must be like, I must it just must be me. And then I get on Facebook and I realized I was not alone. But we're not here to talk about everybody else's opinion. We're here to give our, you know, critiques as film lovers. And first and foremost, I want to say the villains. Matt's the that guy, I I didn't understand. Like I mean like I get he was a bad guy, but I was still sitting there like like sometimes if you get like the Joker, you're just like, oh, Joker's just insane, right? Or you get Killmonger, you get his motives. This guy, I was still the whole movie like, but why? It was like somebody hurt your feelings and then you just go insane and over the top, and it's just like, bruh, it was like the whole time I just kept thinking it's not that serious, bro. And yeah, it was like he went from zero to insane real quick and then back. Well, I don't want to give nothing away, but yeah, I didn't understand his motives. I wasn't really truly compelled by him as a villain. I don't even feel like the acting was as good in this one as it was in the other one. Like Gail Gadot, not to say she's like
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot, yeah. uh I don't know if that's right, but
It's right, Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. So I was saying the last movie, not to say she's just like amazing, but she had like a charm about her or something. Like like the scenes where she was supposed to be funny. I quirked the smile a little bit. You know, it was pretty straightforward movie for me. But this one, I feel like not to say she was awful, but it was just like I don't know. Nothing was really like not from her, not from anybody was really compelling me. There's only like one scene that I kind of even felt, and I don't want to give it away, but I'm in my mind, I call it the Michael Bay scene. I don't know uh if you know what I mean, Keith, but it's a scene where the camera does the Michael Bay thing. Where like you know how Michael Bay always has like a scene in his movies where the camera goes
Oh, the
all
rap. There's a wrap around.
yeah. And so there was the only scene that I kind of felt was like, oh, she's acting was, but I think it was the camera work because I was like, oh, that was kind of clean how they did that. So yeah, wasn't really compelled by the villain. I did like the action scenes. I did like as Cheetah was like ramping up to become Cheetah. Uh I like like that first fight when they was like the bank or whatever. I like that. I like the fights between them. I like the tank chase. I like how the action scenes were set up. I feel like this movie had so many moments of I love movies where we get to see our heroes be a hero. But then also I was sitting there thinking like, man, how many little kids are gonna be in danger in this movie? Like, I love to see our heroes save kids, but sometimes I was just like, don't them kids see what's going on? Why they not moving? What like I know they, like some of it was like, dang, you ain't gotta use your superpowers for this one. They should just like be observant. Like, yeah. So uh but that's just a little miniature nitpick. But I was so out of touch with the movie, if I'm being honest, that there was a part of the movie I'm big on. Like when I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a movie. I try not to talk. Unless it's just like some fun, like unless it's like depending on the situation. If we're like watching a movie and we're riffing on it, we're having fun, that's a different thing. But if I'm watching a movie, watch a movie. My dad's the same way. Watch the movie with my family. My dad gets a call, answers the call. He's like, "Yeah, well, I'm not doing nothing. We watching a movie. It's kind of slow. Yeah, And I didn't even get bothered by him answering the phone. My little sister was on Instagram, sitting next to me with the volume up, and I still was like, "Yeah, I'm not bothered by that." And normally that's like a pet peeve of mine. But 2.5 hours, I felt like was too long. Um, I I will say that I don't want to give it away, but I will say in a way I kind of like how she resolved the issue with the villain, the main guy, even though I didn't like him as a villain. I like that everything wasn't just punch 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 through everything. So I kind of like how she kind of resolved the issue with the villain in the end, and so that's I'll say that. But overall, I'm probably giving the it was a piece of art in the museum. Hmm? But overall, I'll probably give the movie. I feel like I'm being generous, but I'll give it a 6 out of 10. But if we're doing the up to 5 rating, which I think we have been doing, I'll give it like a 2.5. But Keith, what did you think of the movie?
You gave it a 2.5.
Yeah, I feel like because oh, so everybody when I got online, everybody was saying how horrible it was, and I was like, I've seen worse DC movies, so I don't think it was as horrible as what some people were saying. But at the same time, I
So you
didn't think
basing it off of how bad DC movies are, or movies in particular? Because
mo-
DC is notorious for not doing good
yeah,
films.
they are notorious. But I'm doing it on movies in general. I've seen worse films. Like I said, I like how they resolved the issue. I like the action scenes. Uh I really liked that's it. That was the action scenes and how they and then now she resolved the issue in the end. And even that and that yeah, it was a couple of moments where I was like, okay, that was done well. But overall, it wasn't the best movie. Like would I be like, hey, like I literally somebody was talking to me, and they was talking about going to the movies to see that movie, and I said, one, it's on HBO Max, and it was like, well, I like going to the movies, and I was like, don't pay to see that movie. That was my exact response. I was like, don't go pay to see that movie. If you can watch it on HBO Max, just do that. So yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
First and foremost, I want to start off by saying that Gal Gadot is a gorgeous woman.
She is.
That
She is.
probably was like the only thing outside of the longing for actual action that was noteworthy that kept me intrigued.
She's bad.
The movie is a sleeper, and I do mean that literally. I turned it on, and after maybe 20 minutes, I literally fell asleep. I had to start it over. I watched the rest of it. It was hard to stay awake. And I wound up going to sleep to it later on that night. So that's number one before I get into it in depth. Let's start with the first scene. The Gal Gadot's character Diana is or slash Wonder Woman is a little girl back when she was with the Amazons.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I said this movie is already starting off on the wrong foot. Why? Because her mother is watching her compete with other Amazons as they have trained and are training to fight. In the first Wonder Woman, and I went back to make sure, in the first Wonder Woman, she was not on board with her being an Amazon warrior of any kind until she was an adolescent. This girl was no older than 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So already you are off the beaten path of what you started with. It doesn't make sense with the timeline. So that's number one. And I said, okay, they just trying to do something else. The last movie came out in 2017. I think they want us to just forget. And no, I'm not going to forget, especially since we got movies at our fingertips. I'm going to go back and watch and see. And I know that she wasn't down with it. She's not down with it. The whole idea of Chris Pine's character just magically appearing into someone else's body didn't make sense to me. If it, you know what I mean, I guess they were trying to make it seem as natural as possible, but that was super eerie and you didn't explain it. Kristen Wiig coming in, I thought Kristen Wiig was probably a really good character for the first part of who she was. Right? But the latter part of who she becomes doesn't really translate very well for me. She becomes Cheetah almost out of nowhere. I would have loved to see I would have loved to see a transformation happen of some sort. I would love to see her actually leading up to becoming that person. You know, there needed to be a better we get a glimpse of why Max Lord is the way that he is. Apparently he had an abusive father. Sidebar, you're probably going to hate me for this. This is super politically incorrect. But there is a part where he flashes back and his father's being super abusive. And his father's yelling at him because he's about 9 years old, it looks like. And he wet the bed. Man, the stain that was on that it was a huge yellow stain in that bed.
It was. I'll probably be mad too, though.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, this one might be a little warranted, Max. I don't know. I don't know if you want this in the flashback. You was a little too old to be. You know, I mean, this was like a puddle. This was like a this was seemed intentional,
bro.
You know, you trying to get your dad back, I guess. But but that's a little side note. What else? The action scenes, they weren't enough to keep me engaged. That's number one for me. Like I said, Chris Pine just appearing in another man's body didn't make sense. Kristen Wiig, I thought she was perfectly cast for the first part, but not so much the latter part. Him wanting to become the Wish Stone was a little too Jafarish for me. so I wasn't really feeling that too much. Um, it was.
Like,
I'll be honest though, the message was really great. The message was great. It was, and me, me being a believer, it's really easy for me to go back to scripture and to go back and relate into, God and the way of the world and Christology and things of that nature. Just, like just having a Christian worldview. Just the sheer fact, if everybody got what they wanted, you know what I mean?
mhm,
If everybody got what they wanted, this wouldn't really be that great of a
mm-mm.
of a world. Not to say that the world is great right now, but people wonder why certain things don't go the way that they want them to. It's like, fam, you getting your wish impedes upon somebody else's wish, and so on and so forth. And thank God that we got a God that knows how to orchestrate things and allow certain things to happen. But that was a side note for me. I thought that was a really cool thing. And she had a little aside as she was doing what she was doing. I won't give that away. I thought that was really cool. I love the fact that they set it in 1984. I
Mhm.
love the fact that, and I'm pretty sure like that's when the Wonder Woman series came back around. Maybe
I gotta look into it.
I
I
gotta
don't
look
know.
into it too.
I know.
But
I feel
it
like it has some sort of significance, but
right, but if that's the case, I thought that was dope. I love period pieces like that. Like
me
take
too.
you back to a time and have the people dressing the way that they, and malls were super big at that time. So for it to be set in a mall and for the mall to look very 1980s ish, I thought was really dope. The women empowerment piece in these films is really strong, and I think that is super important. There being a little black girl in the beginning of the film, I thought was dope. I did hate this though. There was no other black character in the film other than the homeless dude. I wasn't feeling that at all.
Mm.
Wasn't feeling that at all. Um,
I also didn't like. Oh, I'm sorry.
mm-mm.
It seemed like how a lot of the guys, not just there was like Chris who was like cool, and then every other guy seemed uh, like a d bag. I was just like, dude, are all guys jerks? Like in this era? Well, I'm not saying guys have changed that much, but my point my point was like I was like, come on, man. Like Chris was cool. I mean Steve that was his character name, but
Mm.
Steve was cool, but everybody else seemed like when she was like when one of them was when Kristen Wiig's Cheetah was walking down the street and all those guys were like hitting on her and being a jerk and all that stuff when she was
I'll
running.
be honest, Kristen Wiig looked very pretty, looked very
She
nice
did. She
in
did.
that black dress. That's why I
she,
was saying, I'm like, you can see, well, for me, some things are just gonna be super predictable, like I always say, because we've seen millions of movies by this time. But the key is to do it well and to do the expected in an unexpected way.
unexpected way.
So
That's why I
even
like
with the wraparound scene that we were talking about, I said that's Steve, and at some point it's going to wrap around and it's going to show his face instead of the other guy's face. But they did it. It needed to be done. Makes perfect sense. It
I'm
was a
talking about a
very,
I'm
it
talking
was a
about a
very.
different
Oh, you talking about a
wraparound.
different scene? Well, that scene, I'm
It's near
like
the end.
yeah, for me it was a very cheap way of doing it. It was cheap, but still at this cheap in the sense of cost, but not cheap in the sense of
Storytelling.
productivity. I'll
Mm.
say.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the one near the end, but I wasn't trying to give it away.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When he's
No.
like he says, "You know what you have to do," and then the camera wraps around.
And then at one point she learns how to fly for no reason. Like
Yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
you learning how to fly was never an issue, and now all of a sudden like you feel like you've always wanted to learn how to fly or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah. Oh,
at
but
this point, you're just Superman or Supergirl with the lasso.
yeah. And to piggyback off of what you said, that really did annoy me about the cheetah too, because I liked her, like you said, I liked her the first half of the movie, and then it was like they kind of gave like a throwaway example in
Mm-hmm.
the end where it was like, oh, you're bad because of this, but it wasn't enough for me because I was like, because as I was watching the movie, I literally kept thinking like I was like in this 2.5 hour movie, I've been missing stuff because it seemed like people are just going full
People,
ape crazy for no
yeah, for
reason.
no reason, for
Um,
no reason. And in a 2.5 hour movie, you had the time to be able to flesh out who was who and why they were who they were.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You had the time. So don't give me that you only had an hour and a half. You didn't. You gave us 2.5 hours of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 hours of fluff. I don't understand it.
And the things
So
that you
with that said,
uh,
I give it a strong 2
mm-hmm. I felt that was coming.
because there's some don't you like you're not a small studio. You got the whole DC universe behind you, and for all intents and purposes, outside of the Batman series, this is the best that DC has to offer right now. You had a lot hinging on this. There was a lot hanging on this, and with all of that in play, no, I think it's a fail. But it was number one in the box office. It was like the highest box office selling film since the pandemic has started, $17 million, which ain't nothing. You know what I mean? But
It's
like
not, and
but no, but that's COVID and everything. No one's going to the theaters. No
yeah,
one
and
should.
then even if you are, I think they're only doing like the theaters here in Atlanta are only doing like 30%.
Capacity,
Yeah, because you got to do like the spaces between the seats and stuff, and
right? Yeah,
so
no,
that,
definitely it's a 2.
and then for people who, again, I keep stressing this, it was on HBO Max. So for people to actually still go to the theaters and pay to see it, I know not everybody have HBO Max, but I would have been quick to be like, hey, I know somebody got it, and,
Right,
and logged in and watched it.
right.
Not to hurt your pockets, Warner Brothers. But that's what I watched it on but yeah, I give it a 2.5. Keith, you give it a 2. I
Yes,
feel like that's fair. Uh but especially like I said, since I like the first one so much. Like I was yeah, like I'm gonna watch it again because I know you said you watched it a couple
I
times.
love going to sleep to it. It's great. It's great to fall asleep to.
There's a Marvel movie that's good for me to fall asleep to, but I'm not gonna mention it because people gonna think we're like out the
What
to
Marvel movie?
Captain Marvel. I fell asleep on Captain Marvel in theaters.
Oh, no one's gonna be mad at you for that.
Oh, okay. I didn't want people to think, well, yo, you're just not liking the women movies, and I'm like, that's not what it is. I don't.
That
I was like,
might be what it is, T.
no, I love Jessica Jones, the show, but that movie, I
Yeah,
remember,
redeem yourself.
yeah, I had to. Supergirl, it's alright,
It's okay.
but yeah, I fell asleep on Captain Marvel. But again, if I was in theaters watching this one, like I was at home, and I think the fact that my family was around doing other stuff is what was keeping me up. But yeah, I really feel like I missed a bunch of stuff and then I realized I didn't. I was like, oh, this is the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, there it
sorry,
is.
there it is. Um, but what did you guys think? Hit us up. Keith, are we doing the mailing for this as well, or is that just for thank God for the group chat where people
Do
can
it.
mail in, when people can mail in and ask us stuff?
Sure, if you want. Don't just text us, or I mean, you can put it in the comments, but you can also send us a letter if you like. We taking it old school. Speaking of 1984, you can hit us up at PO Box 302 in Woodbridge, New Jersey 07095. That's PO Box 302 in Woodbridge, New Jersey 07095.
Mm-hmm. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you got any requests for any movies that you want us to watch. But that Wonder Woman 1984, 2.5 and a 2. This has been T, and this is Keith, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.
We about to do Soul next.
Hey, hey, hey. This is T. This is my best friend Keith, and this is Seen It. and we're here to review Soul today. And I loved Soul. Um, I loved Soul. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if we did the. If you guys seen the episode where we reviewed Claws, and I mentioned how it was kind of hard for me to get into it. And I usually love animation movies, but this one I pretty much got into it pretty seamlessly. One of my friends said it's probably because it revolved around music, and I myself am an artist, so maybe that had something to do with it. Um, but I pretty much I liked Soul. I liked I liked that just some of the beats of Soul. I like the animation. Like when they was up in like the little Soul realm, there were certain scenes where I was like literally like when you saw like all the stars, I was literally like, man, I can imagine seeing this in like the theaters because I think of when I saw Into the Spider Verse in theaters, and I feel like it was just unmatched. How you like the time you could tell they took 4 years on that animation for that movie. I could tell they took time on the animation for this movie, and in theaters, um, I'm pretty sure some people got a better TV than I do, but I liked it on the TV in theaters. I'm sure it looked beautiful. I think Jamie Foxx. Oh, Keith, do you have any information about the movie? Because I just jumped straight on in.
Yeah, give me a second. Keep talking about it.
All right, so I think starring Jamie Foxx. I think Jamie Foxx did really good. Uh, I think Jamie Foxx did really good to the point where I wasn't really thinking about it that the fact that it was Jamie Foxx doing the voice. Like you watch a movie where Will Smith is doing the animated voice of the pigeon or something, and you're just like, yeah, that's Will Smith. I was watching this movie and I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't thinking, yeah, that's Jamie Foxx. I was just enthralled into the movie. Uh, I believe. Ooh, I'm gonna wait till Keith pulls up the facts about it
Oh, I'm
because.
ready.
Oh, you ready? Go ahead.
Yeah. Soul is a 2020 American computer animated fantasy comedy drama. Sheesh, that's long. Film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. Directed by Pete Docter and co directed by Kemp Powers, the film stars the voices of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Rachel House, Alice Braga, Richard Iode, Felicia Rashad, Donnell Rawlings, Questlove, and Angela Bassett. The story follows a middle school teacher named Joe Gardner who seeks to reunite his soul and his body after they are accidentally separated just before his big break as a jazz musician. Doctor began developing the film in 2016, working from his contemplations on the origins of human personalities and the concept of determinism. He co-wrote the screenplay with Mike Jones and Powers. The film producers consulted various jazz musicians, including Herbie Hancock and Terry Lynn Carrigan, and animated its musical sequences using the sessions of musicians John Baptiste, who created original compositions for the films, as reference. Soul is the first Pixar film to feature an African American protagonist.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so yeah. I was just finna get into like Questlove. That's what I was finna say. I felt like I heard Questlove in there, and I knew I did, but I think Tina Fey did well. There were some points where like when they was up in like the soul realm where they actually genuinely made me laugh. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I liked. I think what I liked most about this movie is the message. I feel like, and not I know this is a movie podcast, but I feel like since we're going there, a lot of us, myself included, we get so enthralled into what we feel like we're meant to be that it becomes so encompassing that that I feel like if I'm not doing this, I have no other reason to live. I've had conversations with friends who do music as well or anything, and they'll say like, if all I had was the ability to drum on a sidewalk, then I would be happy. But then and then that sounds good. Like I've been there where I'm just like, this is everything that I need to accomplish and everything that I need to be. But then I realized like that's just part of me. That's just that's not all of me. It's it's like it's just part of who Tobias is. Like, like we are all multifaceted human beings. It's kind of like if one of your friends is a chef, that doesn't mean they can't be a writer as well. If one of your friends is a writer, doesn't mean they can't be an actor as well. We all have levels to us. And I feel like sometimes we become so, like I said, enthralled into like if we don't accomplish just one thing, that focus on accomplishing that one thing makes the rest of our life seem like miserable in comparison. And so then I love the fact that, you know, you know, I feel like Jamie Foxx's character, I feel like when he saw his life, even he wasn't happy with his life. But then his life was still beautiful in a sense. He just couldn't see it because it wasn't like exactly how he envisioned it always. And I think that's I feel like personally, I know it's a kids movie, but there's like some moments in the movie where I was just like, yeah, this is like a movie that, yeah, for the whole family. But there's moments where I was just like, yeah, I feel like this is for the dreamer. I feel like this is for adults. There's even one thing that I appreciate that they didn't further explain in the movie. The thing about the ocean and the water. When I'm not gonna give it away, but there's something about ocean and the water that comes up, and I feel like if you're a kid and somebody says that, like I feel like if I was like 6 years old watching this movie and I heard that analogy about the ocean, water, whatever, I would have been like, Dad, what? But I love the fact that they didn't like, well, let me explain this. They just laid it out there because that's what it was, and yeah, I I I think this movie, the most important part for me is that this movie stick the landing because I feel like I personally like Keith has said before, um, how we've seen so many movies and a lot of times it gets easy for us to predict where the movie is going. Uh, and I feel like in the end, we could we can all kind of know like where's this movie gonna go. We can all kind of assess how it's gonna get there, but how it got there, and then the very final scene for me, because I feel like I personally I don't want to ruin nothing. So me and you can talk about this later. But I personally thought it was gonna end differently, and it didn't. It kind of just left some stuff up in the air, really. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know what Joe's doing right now. Jamie Foxx's character, like for me, I thought the movie was going to end with him making a certain decision, and it didn't end like that. I was like, okay. I thought he was going to get a life lesson, and then learn like, oh, I should be doing this all the time. And that's not what happened. And I was like, I like that actually, because at first I was like, is there more movie? But nah. And so yeah, Soul is up there. It's kind of um Pixar is a an amazing studio. I feel like I love almost all Pixar movies. There are a few I hate, but when it comes to studios, when you say like, oh, what studio makes the best movies, I typically will put Pixar above like shoot even Marvel, like Warner Brothers, all of them, Fox. I usually put Pixar up there. Like Pixar's, they So that being said, I don't want to just rank. I want to just rank this, but I want to. I'm ranking this in the grand scheme of movies and knowing what that studio was capable of. But I give it a 4. I give it a 4 because I feel like it went down easy. I watched Soul after I watched Wonder Woman. And so that could also possibly be, if you haven't heard it yet, check out our Wonder Woman review. That could also be possibly be why I like it so much, cause I was not feeling Wonder Woman. And so then to go from Wonder Woman to Soul was like, yeah, like yeah. I didn't. I've seen that a lot of people cry during Soul, and you know me, I'm an emotional person. I didn't cry, but I will commend them. Um, just again to piggyback off of Keith said before, like how a final scene makes a movie. For me, also the soundtrack, and I don't just mean like the music. I like oh we put this Beyonce song right here. No, I mean like the actual like I feel like you can have a whole scene like if you when you guys get a chance watch How to Train the Dragon. There's a scene where when he's flying and there's no talking for like 3 minutes, but the music with the animation makes that scene beautiful. And there's a scene like that in this movie where there's no talking, it's just music and what they do with the animation and what all the stuff, and it's just like man that was beautiful. So the music, yeah, it was good. So that's what I thought. I don't know if Keith's gonna agree with me because we talked before we did our Wonder Woman review. We talked a little bit about that, but all we said about Soul was that we both saw it, and then we was gonna come here. So what did you think, Keith, about Soul?
Um, I think this is where we part ways for the time being, as far as movies are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as much sold on Soul as a lot of people are. I saw a lot of, um, I saw a lot of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I saw a lot of gaps in the plot. I saw a lot of issues as far as like character development is concerned. I saw a lot of issues as here's my thing with Pixar. Here's my thing with Disney. Here's my thing, and this is me as a black man, okay? So you put me in this space. You put me in this space because you have someone now that looks like me, has the same interests as me, and has endured or is enduring some of the same pitfalls as me. In some respects, you're telling my story in some respects. So I look at it differently. I'm an artist, I'm a black man, and as an artist, sometimes you struggle and you get doors closed in your face, right? And your life isn't taking a trajectory that you thought that it would. We've all been there in some way, shape, or form for all intents and purposes, or all intents and purpose. But when you've been there, you tend to look at movies that are somewhat telling your story differently.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So with that said, here's my with that said, and I'll put that to the side for right now. Number one, I am sick and tired, sick and tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired of Disney having the main character be black, but then be in a different body the majority of the film.
Mm-hmm. I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Well, that's just one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of that. It's like, all right, yeah, we got a black character, but then the whole time they a frog, or the whole time they a spirit, and you don't really see this person as who they are. My color is very much so a part of who I am. With that said, I do like the fact that once he and then you have this spirit who's or this unborn spirit, for lack of a better phrase. I think that's what they call it in the film. This unborn person is in his body the majority of the time, who's Tina Fey, who's clearly the voice of a white woman. So you got a white woman in the body of a black man who's never been born before, right? So she has no experience to juxtapose it with.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get the whole, well, you're a black, and so it takes away from, and I think this is sneaky in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away from the black experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw you a bone with the cab situation. Because he said, "Oh, I wouldn't get a cab. I wouldn't be able to get a cab if I wasn't dressed like this." Is sort of what he said. And at first, I laughed at it. I was like, I'm glad that they brought that up. But now, when I go back and I think about it, I'm like, she doesn't have that experience, and she doesn't have that recollection. She has nothing to juxtapose it to. She has, like, I'm a white woman, I'm experiencing this, but it's kind of like a blip, and I don't even get it. And so for the most part, we're not even about to even really address this. But I'm going to appease the black audience and say we addressed this, but we really didn't.
I feel
And I
like
get it. I
oh,
get it. That's not the movie for this. But don't bring it up if that's not the movie for this. You talking about jazz, which is clearly a black art form, which is what they bring up. They bring that up in the They bring that up in the film. What up, Amanda? I see you. 100%. Um. I'll show Amanda's comment. Um.
mhm.
So with that said, you here's my other issue with Pixar. You sell it one way. You sell it one way, and then it plays out in a completely different way than what you sold it as. So you make me feel as if this movie is going to be full of music and full of jazz, which in the background it might be, but we hardly get to see him play. We hardly get to really have that jazz experience. Like, fam, I would have loved to see him like come up in the ranks or like play in different places and get turned down. Like, let me have that musical experience for real, for real. Don't gaslight me. Don't placate to me and just say, oh yeah, we got some jazz in here and this is a jazz musician. But then the whole time he's a spirit and he not playing nothing else the majority of the film. He played in the beginning and then he plays at the end. I came to see what Pixar was going to do with black music. Um, because that's how you sold it. You gave me Jamie Foxx. You gave me Donnell Rollins. You gave me Angela Bassett. Come on. I'll say this. I'll say this. I'll say this. The scene in the barbershop, pivotal. 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 I'm not going to say that they didn't try to help us out at all. Because it was black, I don't want to say cast members, but it was black crew members that were saying, look, man, there needs to be, if he's going to get a new suit, then he needs to go to a barbershop, because ain't no way no black man is getting a suit and he ain't getting lined up. So that barbershop experience, although tongue in cheek, you know what I mean, is very like cliche. Um, I guess it's pivotal, and I thought that it was dope. I thought that it was dope for a lot of reasons, like just the attention to detail that they pay, and just in the movie in general. But Pixar is known for that. Pixar is known for like beautiful visuals and paying attention to detail and making things look real that aren't real, and over accentuating stuff and ex, what's the word? I always say the word wrong. I never say it because I say it wrong. Exasper Exacerbating
Exasperating.
the making caricatures of people, which is what it is pretty much. And so that part is dope. Um, he's he's all throughout the film. And I know this is what you're alluding to, but I'm just going to come right out and say it, because this was a pivotal part in the movie for me. All throughout the movie, he's helping people find their spark.
What I was alluding to?
It might be. It might be. I don't know.
Oh,
But if not, it's cool. All throughout the movie, he's helping people find their spark. The girl and the young lady in his class, the young man who helped him get the job, he helped him find his spark already, and
oh
then
yeah.
he then
It is
he's
kind of what
help
I.
then
Yeah,
he's helping then he's helping this unborn soul find her spark. And then at the end of the movie, they ask him, "What are you gonna do?" And he goes, "I don't know."
I thought he was gonna. So I thought the way the movie was gonna end was he was gonna be a teacher. That's what I was
Like,
alluding to.
fam, you've been helping people, and this is a great way to do that. And so, yes, the whole thing was like, well, no, we don't help people. We don't tell people what their purpose is, but it's clear. The whole movie, you helping people find their spark and find and
But
stick to what they doing. And then at the end of the movie, they say, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I don't know, but I know that I'm going to live it.
well, so for me, I think it's kind of like it's not a secret or nothing, but I've been to therapy before,
Mm-hmm.
and my therapist has gone on record to say my job isn't to my job isn't to make the decisions for you. My job is to hopefully guide you in a way where you make healthy decisions for yourself. Uh, cool guy, but I say that to say like one of my biggest pet peeves is like sometimes when I'm watching a movie where you lay everything out for the audience to like put the pieces together yourself, and then you still be like, now let me explain stuff. And so then
Fam, he didn't know what he was going to do,
my so
which
my
means that he didn't fit. You didn't learn nothing.
I feel like he did though. That's why he was able
He
to go back and
you
help
were
that.
already living life. You were already living life.
I feel like that's what he learned.
You were fighting for your dream. That's what you wanted to do. And then you reached your goal and you was like, well, this is it. It's like, all right, well, cool. But then you don't go on to think, man, I have a higher purpose than just fulfilling my goals, but
Mhm.
helping other people fulfill their goals. When you were
Right.
doing that the whole movie and you don't get what you should be doing.
I feel like subconsciously he should, but I feel like that's how he was able to go back up and help whatever her name was, 22. And so,
And I also, this is what I don't like.
mhm.
Um, Catch 22, the phrase catch 22 was right there and they never used it. Um, and that pissed me off as a writer.
Uh, explain catch 22. I know the
Catch
phrase, but
Catch 22 is, I don't know, they just should have used it at some point. Just should have used it at some point. Like if he was chasing her, and that could have been a catch 22 of sorts. Um, is a She is a catch 22 in many respects. How are you an unborn soul? You know what I mean? And you've been up here for thousands of years, and all of these people have helped you or tried to, and you didn't get that. Could have been worked in there somehow. I just felt like as a writer, this was a cheap joke that could have been used, and it wasn't, and I didn't appreciate that. That's it.
I feel you. What does like I've heard the phrase catch 22,
Mm-hmm.
but what does that phrase like you know how you do like the idioms of the week? What does that phrase
Yes.
like mean?
Okay, I got you. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
I do know what it means, but Catch 22 is actually like a book,
Okay.
right? But that's where they got it from, I guess. Um, Catch 22, a dilemma or difficult circumstance from which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent conditions. So a Catch 22 is like you stuck in between a rock and a hard place.
Or in the wrong person's body.
Yeah, this one, it's like your family was right there.
Yeah. Got you. Okay.
But cool. I'm just saying, as a writer, I would have loved to have seen it used at some point. But it wasn't, and that don't take any points off. I'm not taking points off for that. Um, my main these are my main takeaways. I wanted more music. I
Mhm.
wanted more. I wanted to see him more in his body.
Well,
Um,
it had a I guess for me. Oh no. For
it wasn't.
me,
I'm just giving you my takeaways.
okay, yeah, so
More
music.
music,
Mhm.
more see him more in his body and not this outer body thing, even though I know that's what it's centered around. Do the thing, but put him back in his body. Or use a white person next time. Um Also loved it visually, loved the story that it was telling. I didn't like the dismount.
The dismount.
The ending of it. So
Oh,
like you led me up to this point. You did all of these tricks. It was cool, but the ending, I don't like. I don't like the landing.
mm-hmm. What you give it?
2.5. 2.5. I'm not just liking stuff because um you gave us a black character. I'm not. I'm just. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not moved by smoke and mirrors. I'm
So
not.
for yeah, and I see that.
And I
And for
watched it twice.
oh, I gotta watch it again. But yeah, I still give it my 4 because I'm not moved by stuff. I am
Well, you gave it a 4. Don't do this to me, Tobias.
no, I
You
said I'm
you
still giving
get
it 4.
okay, but you can't. Don't do that. Like I
Oh,
never gave my grade. You gave your grade.
yeah.
I'm not trying to dissuade you from saying what you
Oh
saying.
no, I'm
I'm
keeping it.
saying my thing. So you like, well, I still give it a 4. That's cool. I
No,
give it a 2.5.
but I also wanted to
Let me have my grade without you reiterating your grade. That's
no,
not fair.
but what I will say is I don't being being movie lover and all that stuff. I'm not easily persuaded by our leads being black either. So I like what you said about that. So as I don't want people to think just because a movie has a black lead, we're gonna just be like it's great. But for me, I
Mm-hmm.
think I went into this movie and I think I got what I was expecting because I didn't know they were gonna do that whole body switch thing. When that happened, I was like actually when they was coming back to Earth, I was like, oh, she's finna be in the him and he's finna be in the cat. I knew that.
Right.
But what I
Right.
will say is I wasn't even though I knew it was a movie about a music teacher, it being a Pixar movie, I wasn't expecting any music book in a weird way because it was a Pixar movie. I think if it was a Disney movie, I'd be like, where the music at? But it's a Pixar movie, and I don't know one. The only Pixar song I've known and out of all the movies they've ever had is that "You Got a Friend in Me" song. I don't know nothing. No, so I think that's why for me. But being a
Mm-hmm.
musician, if it was if I think if I went into that, I think when I watched it, I kind of knew subconsciously. I think if my expectations was more like what Keith was saying, then I probably would be like, "Yo, this disappointed me." But because of Pixar, I think already I had already been like, I think I know what I'm finna get. I know he like when I saw the cat, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna be in the cat," and
Mm-hmm.
then and so yeah. But at the end of the day, I do agree with you about him. Like I thought the movie was going to explain that he was going to be a teacher. So in my mind, the way it ended, I feel like it was an open ending thing. Like,
I don't necessarily mean teacher, because
mm,
there you are giving gifts.
mm-hmm,
God gives us gifts.
mm-hmm,
God gives us gifts and God gives us talents, right?
mm-hmm,
There's a lot of, and let's say for this instance, for this example that I'm giving, they're two different things. You can have a God given gift and then a talent. The gift the gift works with the talent, right? So say I don't want to say I'm a musician, right? Take LeBron for instance, right? LeBron's God-given gift, LeBron's God-given gift is that he's a humanitarian, right?
mm-hmm,
God also gave him a talent, which is basketball, to accentuate this God-given gift. So one is your purpose, the other one propels or is a vehicle for said purpose. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be a teacher, but say that his purpose was to inspire people. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm thinking like, yeah, let me wrap around and be like, man, this is a great way for me to showcase my purpose of, or not even showcase, but for me to live in my purpose. I love inspiring people to do this, that, and the third. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? So I'm not thinking teacher. I want you to get in your mind, it's bigger than me. And it was all internal at the end. It was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm gonna live life to the full. It was like, okay, all right. You missed it all in my opinion. In my opinion.
I feel you. All right. Well, that's our takes on the Soul movie. So, what did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it trash? Was it the best thing you saw ever? Um, like I said, write in for us to review some more stuff. Um, yeah, we're gonna start. I'm gonna start trying to have a few different things going on with each episode, but we'll start that next week or a couple of weeks from now. But for now, this is Tobias. That's the homie Keith.
Hmm.
We just reviewed Seen It. I mean, we just reviewed Soul. Uh, love you guys. Till next time.
Peace.
Peace.